stuff. He went to the Steelers for a little bit, and then got into coaching, and he's really done an amazing job in his coaching career.
We'll go over to Trent Gamble with the Independent.
Hi, Tom. It's a real honor to speak to you, man. I hope your family are well, and congratulations on making it to another Super Bowl.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gronk was asked the other day about this, but could you put into words sort of how it feels knowing that so many New England fans are behind you despite you guys moving to Tampa?
It's been a obviously anytime you change teams, you don't know how it's going to go, but I think there's been incredible support that I've had from all the for the team I used to play for, all the New England fans, and I still obviously have a great affection for New England, and I said the other day my kids were born in Boston, so I have a lot of love for Boston and all of New England and the incredible support over the years. Again, it was an amazing 2 decades of my life, and I'll always have a presence there. I have a lot of friends there. It's just really cool to be able to have that experience in my life, and then again have my football journey take me to somewhere else, and then come down here and play for a different team, but still have incredible support. And even, all the guys I used to play with in New England, I have a lot of friends. I've heard from so many of my teammates, so many of my old coaches that, are wishing me luck. So it's been really cool.
All right, we'll go over to Teresa Walker with the Associated Press.
Tom, the Pro Football Hall of Fame announcement is going to be coming Saturday night. Peyton is kind of expected to be in that class as a first ballot. How has he helped maybe revolutionize the quarterback position in the NFL?
Well, Peyton was someone that I always just admired as a quarterback, as the leader of a team. And Peyton and I are right around the same age. He's a few years older than me, but I always looked up to Peyton because he was a little older than me, and he was always doing things the right way. His team was always in it. I know our teams had a rivalry against one another, but when you went against a Peyton Manning-led team, you were going against essentially the other best team in the league. And it's no real surprise that he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. An amazing player. He took so much on. I think like any great quarterback, there's a lot of responsibility that you take on. You want to make sure, everything's a reflection of how you see the game, and you want to make sure everyone's on the same page. And when everyone's seeing it through the same set of eyes, it's a great way to play football. And, working with the coaching staff, because ultimately you're the player on the field, there's no perfect play that can always be called for every, defense and the quarterback. They have to, the coaches have to trust the quarterback to get it right. And I think a guy like Peyton, the coaches, when I think of Coach Moore and Coach Clyde that were here working with Peyton, Coach Dungy, they had so much trust in Peyton to get things right. And he always did. So then he went on to Denver, had a great career there. And, I had a chance to know him for, a long time, 20 plus years. And nothing surprises me about him and his accomplishments. He's a tremendous player. We always keep in touch. He's always wishing me well wishes and so forth, and really happy for him.
We're going to go over to Anthony Curti from ESPN Brazil.
Hi, Tom. Congratulations on being your 10th Super Bowl. Just a quick question. Most of the people just see the rings and feel can see how mentally strong you have to be so you can achieve the greatest status you have. Is there any turning moment in your career, like when a superhero gets his powers, that you saw something clicking and you thought, no, I'm a different person, perhaps the final drive of Super Bowl 36, I don't know. And a quick follow-up, could you say hi to your many, many fans in Brazil? I don't know how many Portuguese words you know and can say, but they will be so happy.
My Portuguese, let me say this. My son, who's 10, his Portuguese is amazing. My 8-year-old daughter is fluent in Portuguese, and unfortunately their dad is way behind in his understanding of how to speak the language, but I can usually understand a lot of things. My wife will say papai no sabe nada, which means daddy doesn't know anything. I usually get that a lot in the house, so I know when they're speaking Portuguese kind of what they're saying, even if they're taking shots at their dad. So they're very sometimes when I do use my Portuguese words, my daughter will be like, "Daddy, you spoke Portuguese," which is pretty great. So she's very fluent. And then as far as I think my I would say becoming an NFL player and then transitioning to a starter and then someone who was kind of a QB1. I think that happened over a period of time. And I started in college. I went to a big college. There was a lot of expectation at that big college, and got to the pros and wanted to be a consistent, dependable player. And I think every year just tried to improve my game a little bit, and gonna have to keep improving it. And as long as I'm playing, I want to improve and get better. And I think next year is going to be a lot better than this year. I feel like I'll be in a much better place mentally. I'm going to train a lot better this year. Physically, next year I'll be in a better place. So I know as soon as this game ends, we're on the next season. So, we'll get ready for this season and then start thinking about next year.
We're going to go over to Kim Jones from the NFL Network.
Hi, Tom. When I think you and Jason Pierre-Paul first became teammates, he told me you said something to him like, "Now you don't have to chase me around anymore." I just wonder, as a human and a football teammate, if you ever look at what he's done, particularly with his compromised right hand, and kind of marvel at what that must have taken for him to do all of that.
I've obviously played against JPP quite a bit, and absolutely love getting the chance to know him and be his teammate. He's absolutely everything you look for in a competitor and a teammate. His leadership, not only his play style in the game, but how he practices, his work ethic. He's a relentless guy. He's a relentless competitor, and he's got incredible mental toughness. And he's just, when you look over that defense and you see him out there, everyone loves seeing JPP out there making plays, because when he's making plays, the whole defense is making plays. And Shaq and Dominican's making plays. Vita, then you got Levante, you got Devin making plays, guys in the secondary making plays. So, but JPP's absolutely like a ringleader of that group. He's just, when he's going, everyone's going, and he brings a lot of juice. So we love seeing him out there. I love playing with the guy, and love getting to know him. He's an amazing guy, amazing player.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Charlie Clifford.
Tom, congrats on a great run, man.
Thank you.
Back on the Peyton thing, if you were asked to give a short story about him, let's say at his induction, what would that be? And also, with the rivalry with Eli, can you differentiate the rivalry with Peyton? Does one rank higher than the other?
Yeah, well, obviously the Colts were in the division. I played against them, Peyton a lot. It seemed like they were in our division. They were when I first started in the league, and then they moved to the South, out of the East into the South when Houston came into the league. But they're, and then Eli playing in the NFC East. We didn't get to play those guys. We played them every preseason, so we had a lot of great games. Unfortunately, didn't always do our best against that team. Played always a little bit better against the Colts than the Giants. But, both, it's really amazing what Peyton and Eli did in the NFL, and Archie, to have three pro quarterbacks who are as tremendous players, leaders, high achievers that they were, says a lot about their family. So I always just had great respect for all of them. They're great competitors, great leaders, and happy Peyton's got another amazing accomplishment in his career. And respect Peyton for being the number one overall pick, really living up to the standard of a number one pick on and off the field. And he always seemed to do things the right way. And he would, there was always a story that when I first played them, it was my first start. I went out early, and I went up to Peyton, and I had never really talked to him. And I said, "Hey, Peyton, I'm Tom Brady here." I think I walked over. He says, "Hey, what's up, Tom?" And that kind of, blew me away that he knew who I was, which was pretty cool. And again, been friends ever since.
We're going to go over to Karen Loftus from WFLA.
Hey, Tom, I want to go back to talking about Byron real quick. He may be the epitome of toughness when you talk about his time in Marshall. If you remember his one leg game where he finishes the game a broken leg and his offensive linemen are carrying him down the field.
Yeah.
What does that do to set the tone for this team, knowing that you have an OC that is such a warrior? And do you think that some of the younger guys have even seen this video?
If they haven't, they need to. And Byron and I talked about that day, and it happened. He went, left the stadium and got x-rays, drove back to the stadium, went back in the game and finished it and balled out, and I think it's really an example of who he is, because he's a great competitor, wants to be out there for his team, and was going to give it everything that he has. And it's the same way that he coaches. He gives everything he's got. So again, just a great leader. We love playing for him. He has high expectations for us. He just has a great demeanor. Nothing ever, in the end, really gets under his skin. He's got great poise, and he's just got an amazing sense of poise under duress. And it's a great attribute to have for a coach. And he's got a lot of great years ahead as a coach, and I'm sure he'll be a head coach very soon.
Our last one's going to come from Tom Rock at Newsday.
Tom, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about how you were able to forge such a close relationship with AB in such a short amount of time. And also, if it reminds you of any other relationships that you've had in this league. I'm thinking maybe Randy Moss, who was sort of had some bumps along his career, and then found you and was able to get to his best.
Yeah, I think my relationship with every player, whether it was Randy and AB, it just starts with I don't have any predisposed notions of how things will go or how they should go. I just try to get to know everybody. I try to, in my own way, be a positive influence in their life. They're a positive influence in my life. Randy and I connected right away. Antonio and I connected right away. And he has a great love for the game, is a real perfectionist about how he plays, how he takes care of himself. Incredible football IQ. And then again, a great skill set just as a player. And I think made incredible strides over the last 12 months to get from where he was at to where he's at now. And I think that's one of the, again, for me as an older player, I think the impact that I want to have as I continue to move forward is help other people maximize their potential. And I feel like, I'm obviously on the much closer to the end than the beginning. I have the ability to help people through my own experiences to help them be the best they could be. And I think that's the enjoyable part, because it's one thing to go out and throw passes, and that's fun, and I love that, and I love winning and all that. But, we all have lives. We all have, everybody is dealing with life, which, is not always the easiest thing for all of us. So, you just try to provide some words of support or advice or, again, care for people. I think that's a really important thing that we need to do, that all of us need to do. We need to care for people more and allow people to blossom and be the best they could be, because they can trust you and that you believe in them and you want to ultimately see them succeed. And I think that's a great part about sports. It's a great part about life and investing time in people and seeing people grow. I mean, that's one of the great things about being a professional athlete, certainly an older professional athlete that is surrounded by a lot of younger players who I want to see them succeed.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Obviously, that pivotal catch in the championship game at the end of the half.
Yeah, I'm not sure why guys continue to sit on him. I think that situation, they may have thought we were playing for a field goal and trying to get a shorter pass in. But no, he's after 20 weeks, you would think there would be some respect about his speed. And I'm sure there will be Sunday.
Next, we'll go to Mike Jones.
Hey, Bruce, how would you describe Jason Pierre-Paul, his role as a leader on the field as a player, and just everything he's been through as an example for his teammates?
Yeah, perseverance. I mean, the guy's the epitome of perseverance for all the things that, the car wreck and the fireworks. But JPP he plays with a heart that's big as a lion and high energy. Guys just love playing with him. When he speaks, they listen. He doesn't speak a lot because he lets his play do his talking, but when he speaks, everybody listens.
Next, we'll go to Heather with NFL International.
Hi, Bruce. Congratulations on the Super
Thank you.
Bowl.
Thank you, Heather.
We had a talk to Tyrann Mathieu the other day, and he had nothing but great things to say about you. And also credits not only you, but your wife for being there for him, not only, on the field, but you guys helped him a lot off the field during your time in Arizona. Can you please just touch base on your relationship with Tyrann, how special he is as a person? And also, have you guys had a chance to talk at all?
We have not. I saw him, in pregame warmups the last time we played him, and my favorite draft choice of all time. And I just love him, his passion for football. But I am so proud of the man that he has become. He's a great football player, but he's a better man.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Chris Murray.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How much has Byron Leftwich meant to you as an offensive coordinator and working with quarterbacks, and how much has he grown? And the obvious talk of him being qualified as a head coach, how much has he grown as an assistant coach?
Oh, it's leaps and bounds. He came in, he was so bright as a quarterback, and he had that natural leadership about him, going all the way back to Marshall when they were carrying him down the field. That part of him has never left. He was a smart player, so he became a very smart coach quickly. I can honestly say I wouldn't be coaching if Byron wasn't available.
Next, we'll go to Mark with the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey, Bruce, relationships obviously big key in your business, and you and Jason Light, that led you to where you are today. I was curious, how did you forge that relationship with Jason? I guess it goes back obviously to Arizona, but with one guy coaching and another guy in personnel, how was a relationship like that forged to the point where you have so much trust and faith in each other?
Yeah, we had the same situation in Arizona as we have here. Scouts and coaches, we're on the same team. We work hand in hand. So when Jason was running the meetings for Steve Keim, Steve and I were great friends. Jason was just right there with us. And so when we were evaluating people, it was coaches, scouts, everybody. And Jason had a huge part of that. And so did our coaching staff. So we believe in it's one team, one cause. It's not personnel versus coaches.
Next, we'll go to Andrew Chapazzi.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I know you're still figuring things out with some injuries and everything, but what has Jordan Whitehead's progress been like as a player the last couple of years? Where has he progressed the most, and maybe what is his ceiling as a safety for you guys?
Well, the one thing about Jordan, he'll throw his face in the fan. Now, he's not afraid of mixing it up, and he has really improved in his pass defense, especially his man coverage. He's worked extremely hard at it, and he's bulked himself up so that he can be as physical a safety as there is, and he's got a great nose for the ball. So he just continues to improve, especially in his pass defense.
Next, we'll go to Jenna Lane.
Hey, Coach, could you just give us an update on how your guys are progressing? Jordan Whitehead, Antoine Winfield Jr., Antonio Brown specifically?
Yeah, all those guys were limited today. They got about half a practice in, and most of them look pretty good. We'll see how the swellings goes tomorrow on AB for sure, and Antonio. Jordan, he had a non-contact jersey on, but he was flying around looking pretty good.
Next, we'll go to Karen Loftus.
Hey, Coach. You actually just talked about this earlier about Byron's one-leg game, as I'm calling it, and I actually wanted to ask you about that. Have you ever used that video in your coaching, maybe like on your onboarding, and be like, if you're not this kind of tough, we don't need you on our team?
No, I have not, but that speaks volumes for Byron, and I think that picture emulates who he is to the T.
Next, we'll go to DJ with Forbes.
Hey, how's it going, Coach Arians?
Good. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing good. So obviously you guys were a 7-9 team last year, even though you guys have a lot of talent. This year you bring in Tom Brady. What is the biggest difference that you've seen, the biggest value that Tom Brady has brought to this offense and this team?
Well, I think his confidence level and his preparation level, but I think the biggest difference is obviously in the turnover ratio. Eliminating turnovers, creating more turnovers, and protecting the football. So we're still, I think, a very explosive offense with Tom, but we have eliminated a lot of turnovers and just his overall leadership.
Next, we'll go to Paolo with ESPN.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes.
Sorry about that. They call it the quarterback whisperer, right? Having worked with Big Ben and Carson Palmer and also Andrew Luck. I'm wondering, how has the relationship been with Tom Brady? And if you had to tweak maybe something that you've done in the past with him, and what have you learned, if anything, about the quarterback position with Tom Brady?
Well, I think with Tom, there's not much to tweak. It's just a matter of verbiage. When he came in, and when we were talking in free agency about one guy learning a language versus 21 guys learning another language, because I had been in the system, the Earhart system that he had come from, and he was all in as far as learning this system, and he there's not much to tweak, man. He knows how to take care of himself, and he's a great player. His preparation reminds me so much of Peyton Manning. Those two guys just set the bar as far as preparation for the guys that I have coached. And, Ben didn't want that stuff. Big Ben, he just liked to go play, and he knew what he was doing, but you didn't want to overload him. But Andrew Luck was the same way. I mean, he was so smart. But all these guys have a grit about them that they can will themselves on other people and make them win.
Next, we'll go to Greg Auman.
Hey, Bruce, of all the challenges in this season, I wanted to ask you how you get a team to be as close as this team now is when you don't have the downtime and the personal interaction you normally have in a football season.
Yeah, it's been amazing, Greg. I think with the pandemic and the sacrifices that they've all made for each other, the only time they go to work and they go home, but we don't get to sit and eat together. We don't get to sit and just have conversations, but it's amazing to me how close this team is. And I think it's because of the commitment they made to one another to beat the virus before we could beat another team.
Next, we'll go to Sarah Walsh.
Hey, Bruce, I wanted to follow up with you on Jenna asked about the injuries and not specifically their status, but, throughout the course of the season, sometimes you're resting guys and trying to play the long game, and there is no long game here, right? There's just a couple of days left. So I know obviously you don't put anybody in jeopardy, but what are you telling these guys? And clearly it would be heartbreaking to be close to going and not be able to play in the game that everybody wants to play in. So what do you tell these guys in terms of trying to get them back and get them back in a safe manner?
Yeah, just be honest with me. Don't try to fool anybody. The worst thing that can happen for a guy who is limited is to come in and get hurt right away. Now we're down roster spots, and we're really, we didn't get the other guy ready. So we're getting a lot of guys ready, and we'll make those decisions on Saturday, who's going to be available and who's not. And hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed they all are.
We have time for a couple more. Next, we'll go to Joel Erickson.
What did you take away from your first head coaching experience in Indianapolis, just that first year that you've carried with you through your coaching career?
I learned how to delegate. That thing happened in 24 hours. So there was no time to try to do anything different. We had a great, Chuck had a great system, had a great schedule. I was just, hey man, everybody do your job. I'll decide if we're going to go for it on fourth down, and I don't give speeches. So I talked a little bit on Saturday nights, but hey, just do your job. And I realized two things: I could call plays and be a head coach, but I learned to delegate, and that was even more important.
Next, we'll go to Nick Jacobs.
Bruce, when you're watching Patrick Mahomes, what stands out to you about him skill set wise and what he's able to do on the field?
I guess the real, great question, but it's probably better the other way. What doesn't surprise you? He can do anything. He can do anything and everything. When he backpedals, there is no pocket because he just keeps backpedaling, and no one in the league, any league, can stop and throw that ball, or you keep backpedaling and throw that ball as accurately down the field as far as he can. So he is a very, very unique player.
Next, we'll go to Kim Jones.
Hey, Bruce, I wanted to ask you a question about Jason, if I could. The Giants traded him to the Bucs for not a whole lot in return, essentially a third-round pick, I believe, in an exchange of fourth-round picks. Are you a believer that Jason flourished in a new environment, or did you guys unlock something in him that hadn't been unlocked in a while? What are your thoughts on a player doing so well with you when the team that drafted him was so willing to discard him?
Yeah, I thought he was playing well there, but he has just done everything he can to become an outside linebacker. He's played, he's been a defensive end most of his career, but I think the two best plays he's made all year are 2 interceptions. The hell with the sacks; those 2 interceptions are still amazing to me. Dropping in, reading that screen against the Rams, and dropping in coverage against the Panthers, and that smile on his face when he held onto the ball and had that interception, but. He is playing lights out. And I expect a great game out of him.
Next, we'll go to Joe Rudder.
Yeah, Bruce. I was just wondering, you had Alan Faneca in Pittsburgh. What did you see about him that made you think that this guy's on his way to having a Hall of Fame career, and do you think it's time he gets in?
Definitely time he gets in. I've never seen an interior lineman who could dominate games. Red was, he was the best point of attack blocker, but he out in space, he was like a running back, the best pulling guard I've ever been around, and best overall interior lineman I've ever coached, and it's way overdue. He's a very special player. The Steelers were known to run that football, and it was always usually behind Alan Faneca.
Last question will come from Steve Isbitz.
Coach, you said recently that defensive back is not generally a position that wants to play hurt. And can you talk about what Carlton Davis has gone through this year, maybe some stuff behind the scenes that we haven't seen for him to put out the season that he's had?
Yeah, I think Carlton, he had that hip and groin injury. For a DB not to be able to turn his hips is extremely hard. He fought through it, missed a game, I think, and then he's been as consistent a player. Yeah, he had a tough time at Tyree.